All right, great. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Sheila Price and I am an HR business partner with ESI. And thank you very much for taking time out of your morning to join us. So today's webinar is over the Colorado Family Matters new law. And also we're going to kind of do a refresher on the Colorado Family Medical Leave Insurance. So today's webinar is brought to you by ESI. Our mission is to simplify the employment challenges of business, and we do that with our 3 pillars, which are our buying power, our efficiencies, and our expertise. Just a few housekeeping notes for today. Today, all participants will be muted during the presentation. We do ask if you have any questions, please submit those on the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen, or maybe at the top of your screen. Today's recording, the HR credits, and also any resources will be sent out within about a week of today's presentation. Also, as always, this webinar is not suitable for legal advice. So today, our agenda, we will be covering the Family Medical Leave Insurance Act, or we call it FAMLI. We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about some specifics, some requirements, and some resources to assist you. And then we're going to do a refresher on the Colorado Healthy Family Workplaces Act, which is kind of the sick leave and the public health emergency leave that is actually still in place. So today I want to introduce you to Miranda Wooten. She is an HR business partner in our Denver office with eEmployer Solutions, or ESI. Miranda joined ESI in 2016. She has over 10 years of experience in mid-sized organizations, providing all guidance to all levels of organizations. Her broad experiences include benefits, employee relations, payroll, performance management, policy design, and talent acquisitions. Miranda has a wealth of knowledge in variety industries, including PEOs, manufacturing, oil and gas, real estate, and railroad. Miranda brings to a wealth of knowledge and also abundance of energy, dedication, experience, and personal work to her knowledge. Miranda has a Bachelor's of Arts degree from Colorado State University. She also holds her PHR certification and is a member of SHRM and also the Mile High SHRM. Miranda, welcome, and I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you to everyone joining today. Hopefully I can share some information with you and you guys can learn stuff today about the new Colorado Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, FAMLI. So before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick poll to see everybody's knowledge of this new Colorado FAMLI. So give me 1 second. Hold on, guys. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'll give you guys all a second to answer. So how familiar are you with Colorado FAMLI? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So it's looking like the majority of people are, I have heard of it, but not super familiar. And FAMLI, what's that? And there's somebody here that is very familiar with it. So come on over and help me out today. But now hopefully to all the rest of you guys can learn some information about this new law. So let's get started. FAMLI. So Colorado's Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, or FAMLI. So this is a state-run program, and this is to ensure Colorado workers have access to paid leave during certain life situations. This program is also extended to self-employed individuals and independent contractors. Colorado is the 9th state to have passed a family medical leave program. And currently there's 9 states in total who have passed a leave program throughout the United States. So here's a map So as you can see, all the states that are in this purple color, they are approved and actively have a program that's being ran. States in the yellow or in the green, which includes Colorado, is states that have approved and there's a future benefit start date. The states in blue, they all have proposed bills. I did want to note that Colorado started having this show up on our ballot in 2014, and it took 6 years for us to finally pass something. So just because it's on the bill doesn't mean it's going to, happen in the next year or so. But I definitely think this is the trend, and we'll see this more and more throughout states in other states in the U.S. And then the grayed out states, they have no plan at this time. Okay, so FAMLI was approved and voted on with a 57% support in November of 2020, and that was Proposition 118. Premiums, the collection of premiums is going to begin this January of 2023, and then it's going to go into effect where employees can start requesting off leave in January of 2024. So what it is it's going to provide up to 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave. And this will be funded through payroll tax. And this will be 50-50 employees and employers. And then any individual that's experiencing pregnancy and childbirth complications, you could get an additional 4 weeks. So for a total of 16 weeks of paid family leave. So as I stated, it's going to be paid 50-50 by employers and employees. And then if you're a company that has 9 or fewer employees company-wide, you are not required to pay the employer share, but the employee, they're still going to be responsible to pay their portion. So this is just the timeline in a different way. So it was passed in November of 2020. January of this year, they started kind of making some rules. We're in the summer, fall timeframe, and there's continuing to do rulemaking. So hopefully we're going to get some more guidance on some of the gray areas of this law. January of 2023, that's when contributions are going to begin for employees and employers. And then January of 24, eligible employees can begin requesting leave. So who does this apply to? So this is going to apply to most Colorado employees if you have earned at least $2,500 in wages within the state of Colorado in the 4 quarters prior to requesting leave. And then it's going to be self-employed workers are also eligible to do this, but they are going to have to opt into the program. So employees are already in the program. You can't opt out. You don't need to opt in. You're already going to be in the program. Whereas self-employed individuals, they're going to have to go and opt into the program and then start making contributions. So using family leave. So you can use it to care for a child during the first year after birth, adoption, or placement through foster care. Caring for a family member with a serious health condition. Individuals who has a serious health condition. Family members in on active duty military service, and then safe leave. Individual or family members is victim of domestic violence, stalking, or sexual assault or abuse. So this is the definition of what a family member is. So it's going to be a child, parent, legally married, grandparent, grandchild, or sibling. And then the last one. So I've highlighted this in red because I think this is where there's going to be a lot of questions and kind of a big gray area. So it's any other individual with whom the employee has a significant personal bond that is like a family relationship, regardless of biological or legal relationship. So this last kind of definition of a family member is what makes Colorado's family one of the more progressive ones in the country. So it could be a cousin, an aunt and uncle, potentially a neighbor down the street that you have a close relationship. So hopefully they're going to give us a little bit more guidance on that last definition, but this is how it stands today. So here are some more specifics. As I stated, it's up to 12 weeks of leave plus an additional 4 weeks for pregnancy or childbirth complications. So how much are employees paid on leave? So how it's written, it's 90% of an employee's weekly wage for the portion of wages that are less than or equal to 50% of the state average weekly wage, 50% of the portion of an employee's wages that exceed the state average weekly wage. So clear as mud. I'm absolutely with you on that. So my next slide, I do have a chart that kind of lays it out a little bit better. And then in my resource, and we'll talk through it a little bit more, is the state has come up with a benefits and premium calculator where employees can kind of look to see how much they make, and it'll tell you how much is going to be deducted from your paycheck, as well as how much benefits you'll be able to receive. So more to come on that. And then the maximum benefit is capped at $1,100 per week in 2024. And then employers, if you qualify for FMLA, you can run family leave concurrently with FMLA. And there are going to be posting requirements for this. Again, in resources, I have the poster that you can post at your organization. So here is the chart. So during their leave, employees will receive between 37% and 90% of their wages, with it being capped at that $1,100. So as you can see, if someone's making $500 a week, their weekly benefit while out on leave would be $450. They would max out at $5,400, and they're getting 90% of their weekly wages. But as you can see, the more money you make, the less weekly benefit you're eligible for. And then you're going to cap at that $1,100 weekly and $13,200 annually. So let's talk about the premiums. So for 2023 and 2024, the premiums are going to be 0.9% of the employee's wages. And that's going to be 50% the employer, so 0.45% employer, and 0.45% paid by the employee. But you can, as an employer, choose to take that whole burden and pay the full 0.9% for your employees. And then again, businesses with 9 or fewer employees are exempt from paying premiums. And that's just the employer. So the employees are still required to pay their portion. So their portion is that 0.45%. So the family rate of 0.9% is fixed through the end of 2024. And currently it's capped that it can't go higher than 1.2%. However, it could be on the ballot again to increase that amount. So for 2025 and beyond, the division director, so who heads family, he's going to be the one that's setting that premium rate going forward. And then it is going to be capped, so wages. So once an employee makes $161,700, this is kind of the estimated what they think the federal Social Security wage cap is going to be for 2023. Once they hit that cap, so it could change, they're no longer contributing to premiums. So that cap is the employee paying in $727.48, and the employer contributing the same amount of $727.48. So if you make $162,000 a year, your premium is you're not going to be deducted any more premiums. So let's see how Colorado stacks up with the other family leave programs across the US. So as you can see in DC, it's 0.62% of wages, and that is paid 100% by the employer. So states like California, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, it's 100% paid by the employee. And then Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado is going to be split between the employee and the employer. So family protection. So some of these are going to be probably very familiar to other protections on leave programs. So these should be somewhat recognizable, but it prohibits retaliation against individuals who take family leave. Employees who take leave are entitled to return to the same position or position with the same pay, benefits, and status. employees may not lose their health benefits while out on leave. So let's talk about the impact of FAMLI on the state of Colorado, as well as on organizations. So as I mentioned before, it's one of the more progressive leave programs in the US. And it is because of, one of the reasons is because of that definition of what a family member is, that last definition. And it's estimated that it's gonna include 2.6 million Coloradans will be eligible to participate in this leave. And that's out of approximately 3 million workers. And then they're estimating 5% of eligible workers will be making claims each year. So that's 131,000 employees each year. Obviously, we don't have real data because we haven't started this. They're using this data from other states that have leave programs in place, but it's a good starting point. So for organizations to kind of estimate that potentially 5% of your workforce starting in 2024 is going to be making claims. And I'm assuming once we have more data, we'll get some better numbers on what that looks like. So I wanted to put in 2 examples just to help maybe, hopefully, if you're kind of a little confused on how this works, the premium works, I want to put a couple examples in just to show you. So this example is for an employee that works for a company that has 9 or fewer employees. So Mateo, he works for a company, they have 9 or fewer employees. He's making $1,200 bi-weekly. So every other week, he's making $1,200. Beginning this January, 2023, Mateo's employer will deduct 0.45% from his wages to pay in family premiums. So that's going to be $5.40 that Mateo will be paying in. And then since his employer has less than 9 or fewer employees, the employer is not required to pay any premiums. However, as I stated before, the employer can choose to take that burden from the employee and pay his portion as an added benefit or a perk or something. So here's an example for an employer with 10 or more employees. So Elise works for a company that has 10 or more employees. She's making $1,600 every 2 weeks. So beginning this January, Elise's employer will deduct 0.45% of her wages from her paychecks to cover premiums. And that is going to be $7.20. And since Elise's employer has 10 or more employees, her employer is required to also pay a portion of the premium, which is 0.45%. So that's $7.20. And then so that will be a total premium of $14.40. And again, the employer can choose to pay some or all of Elise's premium share as an added benefit. So here's just a chart. I don't know if this is easier for people to kind of make sense of things, but 9 or fewer employees is employee only is responsible for the premium. 10 or more employees, it's split between the employer and the employee. If a self-employed individual opts into the program, they're responsible only for their employee portion of the premiums. Local governments can either opt into the program or opt out of the program. So if they choose to opt in, they're only paying the employee premium. And then you can see non-participating local governments and non-participating self-employed individuals. So if they opt out of the program, they no premiums, but they're also not able to participate in the program. So just because they're opting out, that means they're not able to participate. So how does FAMLI benefit small businesses? So it's easy, it's going to be hopefully easy to administer. So FAMLI will work largely like unemployment in the sense that there's going to be a portal where employees, and they're still building this portal out, but they're building a portal where employees will go in and request their leave out. And then there's going to be a state agency who's going to be reviewing those claims, getting the documentation. And then in that portal, there's going to be notifications to the employer about, hey, someone's filed a claim. This is their estimated, day that they're leaving, how long they're going to be going. And then as well as it's going to be for paying in premiums as the employer, it's going to be the same cycle as unemployment. So it's going to be quarterly that you need to pay in those premiums. So they're trying to line it up and make it very similar to the unemployment insurance program. It's going to be cost effective. So again, businesses with 9 or fewer employees won't have to pay employer premiums for family. There could potentially be a cost savings if you're an employer that offers maternity leave, paternity leave, or any other kind of paid family leave program. You could kind of forego those programs, internal programs, and have employees now participate, or could be participating in the family program. So you would not be paying out for those leaves. More competitive, paid family leave is a benefit that workers want, and it could make you as a more competitive employer if you're looking for employees throughout the United States, because you do offer something like this for employees. Happier and healthier employees. So research shows that access to paid family leave can boost employee morale, and happier employees are often more productive. And finally, flexibility. When an employee is out on family, the vacancy will provide employers the flexibility to choose to fill that position how they see fit. So maybe it's hiring a temp, maybe it's paying overtime, but since you won't be paying that employee while they're out on leave, you'll have the flexibility in your budget to fill the needs of your company that works best for you. So how will ESI help? So Colorado is a PEO reporting state. So ESI will be setting up an account number for all our clients, and then clients will fall under ESI's account number. So we will be the ones deducting premiums from the employer and the employee, and then we will be remitting those payments to the state. So FAQs. So I have a number of FAQs that I have gathered from webinars that I've attended, from the FAQs that they have on the website. So hopefully, if something wasn't answered within the presentation, these FAQs will help. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have plenty of time to get some additional questions from anyone that may have questions. So how will I know how long an employee is eligible to be out on family covered leave? And so this is going to be case by case. How my understanding is it's going to be similar to like a short-term disability, where there's some guidelines on, if somebody broke their leg, it might be X weeks. And if somebody is, out for a more serious medical condition, it may be, 10 weeks. And then obviously health conditions, or, if there's any unforeseen circumstances may change that. But I think it's, there's going to be some guidelines to help the agency determine that. But then again, it's not going to be more than the 12 weeks, and then 16 weeks for if there's any birth complications. How often can employees take family leave? So family benefit can only be taken once a year across a rolling annual calendar. So for this example, if an employee takes paternity leave on February 11th of 2024, they take the full allotted 12 weeks. They would not be eligible to request leave until February 11th of 2025. So how will I know when an employee is expected to return to work? So again, there's going to be a portal that the division is working on. It's not open yet. They have not created it yet, but it's going to be a technological solution that will notify employers when an employee has filed a claim. And then they hope to have this launched, or it should be launched before January 1st of 2024. That's when people can start making claims. Do I pay my employee when they're out on leave? So no. So family is approved. So if it's approved, so it's going to be working like unemployment benefits, where the state will be mailing payments to the employee. So Employers are not going to be paying anything to employees while they're out on leave. And again, this is where the flexibility comes into play, because you're not paying for the employee while they're out on leave. So you have the flexibility to hire temp work, overtime, or whatever makes sense for your organization. So how are premiums contributed to the program? So I've kind of mentioned this before, but employees will see a family wage deduction on their paychecks, unless the employer is picking up the whole premium for their employees. Employees will see something on their paychecks for this deduction. And then employees who are out on leave are paid within 2 weeks of filing claims, and then every 2 weeks thereafter by the state. Do I have to hold a job for an employee out on family leave? And the answer is yes. If an employee has worked for 180 days for the same employer, then job protection is mandated. And then are premiums and benefit payments taxable? Premiums and benefit payments are exempt from state taxes. However, the IRS has yet to issue guidance on how federal tax will be treated on premium and benefit payments. And also, from my understanding, the benefit payments, you'll get like a form similar to like when you get like your 1096, I don't know if that's what it is, for unemployment. When you file unemployment for those payments, you'll get a form from the state for when you're filing your taxes. The employee will get a form. Can employees take intermittent leave? And yes, they can. Employees can take intermittent leave of 1 hour or less. And this is if the employer measures work in smaller than 1 hour increments, then they can take less than 1 hour increments. And then once the employee accumulates 8 hours of family leave, then it becomes payable to them. What are the notice requirements? Employees should provide at least 30 days notice for taking family leave. However, if it's not foreseeable, then notice is to be provided as soon as practicable. So I'm talking about this portal, and this portal will let employers know when people have filed claims. Hopefully your employees are already having these conversations with you prior, and this is not something that you weren't aware of, because they do have to try to provide you 30 days notice. What if I already offer my employees a short-term disability plan? So if you're an employer that already has a short-term disability plan, you'll have to get those plans pre-approved by the state. So this division that's overseeing this will have to review the plan and make sure it's equal to or greater than the same rights, protections, and benefits of Colorado's family. And that includes the cost of it as well. What happens if employers refuse to comply? So don't. Employers need to be complying with this. Employees could sue their employer for not complying, and then they could be subject to damages of back pay and front pay and liquidated damages, attorney's fees, and all that stuff. So I would not refuse your employee from taking this leave. And then here is a whole slew of family resources. And I got all this stuff from the actual website. So that very top bullet is Colorado Family website. So they have a bunch of information. The second bullet is webinars. So they have a pre-recorded webinar that aired on May 27th. So you can go in there and check out that webinar. This is the poster. I mentioned there's posting requirements. So here's the poster that you can use to hang up in your company. FAQs. So like I said, some of the FAQs I covered today I pulled from here, but I'm assuming there's going to keep updating those FAQs throughout. You can sign up for a newsletter. There's an employer toolkit. And then there's so the webinar that they had on May 27th, people asked questions. So they basically, the family webinar questions are the questions and answers to the questions that were answered during that webinar. And then, as I mentioned prior, there's a family premiums and benefits estimator. And so the next couple of slides will show you what that looks like, but I think this is going to be a good tool for you as an employer and then to share with your employees, because it'll show the employees how much premiums are going to be deducted from their paycheck. And then the last bullet is an email. You can email the state directly with questions. I don't know how fast they're responding. I have asked a couple of questions and I'm still waiting to hear back, but hopefully I do. So, but that is another resource. So here are some screenshots of the Family Premiums and Benefits Estimator. So as you can see, when you go to that link, you're gonna, and so unfortunately, this is more for employees instead of employers. So you can't really do budgeting off of this unless you kind of a one-on-one buy for each employee. So there's not like a mass say, hey, this is what my payroll is, you know, what would my premiums be? But this is a good tool for employees. So the employee would select if they're paid salary or hourly. And then as you can see in this example, the employee makes $50,000 a year. And then it shows the premium amount. So the employee is going to be paying $4.33 a week. The employer is also paying that $4.33 a week. And then the total contribution for the year, if they continue to make that $50,000, is going to be $225.16 for both the employee and the employer. And then on the bottom half of the page, it's going to tell the employee what their benefit would be. So it's $707.37. If they filed a claim, that's how much they would make weekly. So I think this is a good tool. I think as you're announcing this to your organization and letting people know that this is coming down the pipeline, you can provide this tool and they can kind of, you know, not be sticker shocked when they get that first check in January. They'll know why they're getting deducted and how much they're going to be getting deducted. So before we go to the next section and talking about the Colorado paid sick leave and public health emergency leave, I wanted to see if there's any questions.
We do have a couple of great questions, Miranda. The first one is, how does FAMLI impact companies with employees across multiple states?
So yes, that's a great question because nowadays we have employees all over. So as an employer, you're going to count all your employees throughout the US. As long as you have one employee working in the state of Colorado, you're counting all your employees, and that's the number you will use to determine if you're kind of 9 or fewer or 10 or more. So if you have 25 employees, one's in Colorado, you know, 5's in Texas, and the rest are in Michigan or something, you as an employer are, you need to comply with paying employee and employer portion just for that employee that's in the state of Colorado, because that employee is the only one that's able to participate in the program.
Great, thank you. Also, another question is, can I require my employee to use PTO while out on family?
So how it's written is that you cannot require that. But however, if you have a signed agreement from the employee that you can pay them, because obviously, as you can see, it's 37 to 90% of your wages. So for some employees, they're not going to be getting a full paycheck or even close to one. So if the employee agrees to it, you could true up them using PTO or sick time, but they have to authorize it. And I would suspect a policy and handbook is probably not going to be sufficient, that you would actually need a signed agreement to say, well, when I'm on leave, you know, you can true up my payments by using PTO, sick, vacation, or whatever. But yeah, you do need to get that in writing, and then you're able to do that.
Thank you. We've had several questions about FAMLI and FMLA. And what are the differences, similarities, how do those work together?
So as you can see, that the reasons for leave and what's considered a family member are different on FMLA and the Colorado family. So if the reason for the leave and the definition of a family member kind of matches up both for the FMLA and the family, and you qualify. I mean, not every employer, you know, if you're less than, you know, the 50 employees, you don't even qualify anyway. So you would need to, for it to run concurrently, your leave would need to meet the FMLA requirements as well as the Colorado family. So since Colorado is more strict, there's more, it's, you know, you just have to see if that fits into the FMLA requirements, and then you can run it concurrently.
And that's all the questions right now, Miranda. We may have some more coming up as you continue.
Okay, perfect. And then, yeah, so I'll probably just add any of these questions to the slideshow so that we can kind of have a running list of questions. And as things come in or people email me stuff, I'm happy to add that so we can kind of have a running list of questions, and hopefully we all are just learning from each other. So I did want to ask the question again, and I'm hoping I see positive stuff, but do you feel more comfortable, more familiar with Colorado Family after discussing it today? So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and end it and share results. So happily, people did learn things. I'm glad. But yes, still, I mean, I think, you know, there's definitely areas that's clear as mud. I think, as I stated, it's still in the rulemaking process. So hopefully some clarifications will happen. I intentionally wanted to have this webinar, you know, 6 months into the year so that it's on people's radars. We can start thinking of questions, we can start gathering questions, and throughout the year, I mean, you know, maybe another webinar can happen where we're just kind of doing Q&A sessions and we can kind of get some more information. So I'm happy that you guys learned some stuff, but yes, definitely many more questions that need to be answered and things will kind of pop up, I'm sure. So perfect. So I wanted to, as we talked about, there's going to be a quick refresher on Colorado Healthy Families and Workplaces Act. So this, hopefully everybody's currently already complying with this because this went into effect for all employers January of this year. Again, I just wanted, this is a refresher, and if you're not in compliance, let's have a conversation to get you into compliance. So what the Paid Sick and Safe Leave is under Healthy Families and Workplaces Act is it's employers must provide 48 hours of paid sick leave on an annual basis to their employees. And it should actually say up to 48 hours. So this is inclusive of full-time, part-time, temporary, seasonal employees. And so it's accrued at 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. So if a part-time person doesn't work as many hours as obviously a full-time person, they don't get as much leave as a full-time individual is. So it's up to that 48 hours based off of 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. So this is a floor, not a ceiling. So you have the right to offer more. Some people are doing a PTO policy that needs to be greater than and equal to this. So it needs to, at least for a full-time person, offer 48 hours. So you can combine it. You just need to make sure that you're allowing them to take the leave for the right reasons. The documentation is in line with this policy, and all that stuff. So paid sick and leave, these are the 5 reasons an employee could request leave under this. So a mental or physical illness, injury, or health condition that prevents work. Obtaining preventative medical care, so this would include a vaccination, or a medical diagnosis, care, or treatment of any mental or physical illness, injury, or health condition. Being a victim of domestic abuse, sexual assault, or criminal harassment who needs to leave for medical attention, mental health care, or other counseling, victim services, or relocation, or to care for a family member who has a mental or physical illness, injury, or health condition, or who needs the sort of care listed in categories 2 and 3. And then due to public health emergency, a public official closed the employee's place of business, or child's school or care, requiring the employee to care for the child. So documentation cannot be required to take sick leave, but can be required as soon as the employee can reasonably provide it. And then an employer can only require documentation after they've been on leave for more than 4 consecutive days. So as I stated with the PTO policy, you would need to have that kind of piece in the policy as well. So it needs to be, equal to or a more rich policy than kind of what the paid sick and leave law is. Must be kept, so these documentation must be kept confidential. Leave cannot be conditioned on disclosure of health details. Record keeping, employers must keep detailed records of the type of leave each employee has available and has used. And again, there's posting requirements. I do have another page for resources, which has the poster. And then, so Healthy Families and Workplaces Act, it's 2 parts. So the first part was the paid sick and safe leave. And then the second part is this public health emergency leave, PHEL. So this is still in effect. I shared a link with you. This is the link to the Department of Labor website, and it will say when this is no longer in effect and when you no longer have to pay or be required to pay this for employees, but it is currently still in effect. So if a public health emergency is declared, employers must allow an additional, and again, this is up to 80 hours based on how many hours an employee works, of paid supplemental leave. So this is a one and done. So if an employee used this back in 2021, that they exhausted their 80 hours, it does not get renewed in 2022, 2023 as of yet. But if they haven't used it, they do have this available to them. So leave may be used for self-isolation due to either being diagnosed with or having symptoms of communicable illness that is part of public health emergency. And I mean, they wrote this policy in case anything ever happens in the future, but I mean, essentially COVID is what we're kind of speaking of in this kind of current situation. Diagnoses, treatment, or care of such an illness, excluded from work by a government health official or by an employer due to the employee having exposure to or symptoms of such an illness, unable to work due to a health condition that may increase susceptibility or risk of such an illness, or caring for a child or other family member in categories 1, 2, or 3, whose school, child care provider, or other care provider is unavailable, closed, or providing remote instructions due to the emergency. So again, this is in effect. So if you haven't been complying with this, we definitely need to get on board with this. And then here's some resources. So the link this is the same link that I had on the previous slide. So this will give some more information as well as will tell you if this is still active. And then poster. So again, posting requirements, you can print this off and post this where you have your labor law posters. Okay, questions?
Question about how the HFWA and FAMLI work together, if they do.
So these are additions. So these are all 3 separate leave buckets. So the family, again, as I stated, you have to have authorization from the employee to be able to use their sick time. So if they authorize that, you could use some of that sick leave, but they are different buckets. So the public health emergency leave is kind of its own little bucket of time that's available to employees, and the paid sick and safe leave, or if you call it a PTO policy or whatever, that's another bucket. And then the family is its own bucket. So they don't work concurrently. They could, if on the sick leave or the PTO you get authorization, but it's separate buckets of time available to the employee.
And then one more question about, back to family, about how the state is going to be calculating wages, if it is only base wages or if bonus wages would be included in that calculation.
So I don't know the answer. That's actually a great question. I haven't seen anything, so I will like to look into that. My assumption would be it would be all wages until you hit that, what was 161,300 or 161,700. I think it's going to be kind of inclusive of all wages, but I will definitely double check on that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? I feel like I've talked for a long time. I did give you everybody like an extra 20 minutes of your day back. But like I said, I wanted to make sure we had time to capture questions and get questions and make sure you're somewhat comfortable with these laws. So perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead and if there's no other questions, we do have an email at the last slide. And if you're a client of mine, you can always call me or email me, but email us if there's any questions, because I'm learning about this as well. So great questions come in and I learn something and can educate you as well. So reach out and more to come for sure. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sheila.
Miranda, thank you. That was a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information. And Kirsten, thank you very much for fielding our Q&A in our chat. Thank you very much for that. As always, today's webinar was brought to you by ESI, or E-Employer Solutions. Our mission is to simplify the employment challenges of business, and we do that with our 3 pillars of strength, which are our buying power, our efficiencies, and our expertise. Reach out to us at hr@eesipeo.com, which is on the next slide. And as always, just a reminder, we will be following up with questions, and we will also be sending out the webinar and any questions we didn't answer in the chat within a week of today's presentation. Kirsten and Miranda, it looks like we had a few questions come in. I don't know if we want to answer those now or if you'd like to answer those in the follow-up.
I can certainly try. Again, I may not know the answers, but I can certainly try. I'm happy to.
It looks like, is there a waiting period to get paid? Like, do you have to wait a week or a waiting period like there is unemployment?
So there's no waiting period. So as soon as you file a claim and it's approved, you'll get paid within 2 weeks. And it's, as long as, you know, you've paid in, you've made $2,500 in the 4 quarters prior. I mean, if you meet the eligibility requirements, yes, there's not a waiting period. You'll just have to wait the 2 weeks for them to pay you.
And I'm sure that depends on how quickly the state of Colorado is doing all of their things.
Yes, and obviously things can change, right? I mean, during COVID, influx of unemployment, and there was a delay with that stuff. So it could very well change. But as of now, the commitment is, you know, no waiting period, and you'll get paid within 2 weeks.
Definitely. All right, great. Well, it looks like that is all of our questions for Q&A. And thank you everyone for taking time out of your day. And please, again, reach out to us. Miranda, do you want to advance to the next slide? Yep. Just so thank you. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you. And as Miranda mentioned, we are all learning this just as quickly as you all can. So please feel free to email us if you have any questions. And thank you once again for taking time out of your day to join us. Be sure to answer the survey that you'll also be receiving. So be sure to give us some feedback. That's how we learn and grow and bring you the most up-to-date presentation and topics. So thank you again, and we welcome you all the best and have a great day. Thank you.